Shabbat service. Our virtual Shabbat, our very last for the summer season, lay-led service. Yay! We are featuring our friends Annette and Mark and Kate and Bree and Allie and Mr. Rogers. We're all going to be singing along for you this evening. We hope you'll be singing along with us and following on the Kabbalat Shabbat that was sent in your link. Hopefully so. That would be great. We'd like to open with a favorite. You'll know it. I want to see your lips moving. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevarachim gam yachad. 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 A little louder back there, I want to hear you. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevarachim gam yachad. 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 Nice. Thank you very much. Now we turn to our candle lighting. If you have your candles ready. For those of you who will be on screen with us, we have several sets of candles, if you can see them across this beautiful table that Annette has set up for us. And I will let our fine voices in the room lead us in the prayer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat. In a moment. And we're going to lead you into something special that is not on your service. Kate and Bree and Allie will lead us in. You might recognize this. May the Lord protect and defend you. May God always shield you from shame. May you come to be in Israel a shining name. Yad Lai Lai, Yad Lai Lai. May you be like Ruth Shabbat is all about. Absolutely. It is time to rise for our call to worship. If you are able to. Are you able to? Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Seated for just a moment if you would like. Eternal God, whose temple is the whole world and whose dwelling place is the human heart, we know that you are everywhere and that your presence never leaves us. Would you like to reply?
Yet, we are thankful for appointed times and chosen places where in fellowship with one another our spirits turn to you.
At this service, at this hour, and in this place, help us to feel your nearness.
The week of toil is ended, the day of rest has come, and we pause to reflect on the meaning of our lives.
Source of all creation, you have given us the blessing of work so that by our efforts we may fashion things and use the moments of helpfulness. You have also given us Shabbat for self-renewal and sanctification.
May the work of our hands and minds be acceptable to you. May this Shabbat enrich our lives, drawing us closer to you in truth and love.
Some of us like to rise for the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam V'ayed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam V'ayed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Beautiful. You may be seated. Sure. Follow us on the V'ahavta.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom alavecha v'shnatam levanecha v'dibarta b'am v'shivtecha b'beitecha v'vlektecha b'derech v'shovtecha u'tumecha v'shartam le'ot ayatecha v'hayu l'tatecha b'neinecha v'tatam al mitzvot beitecha v'yisharecha L'man tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yetem kedoshim le'elechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hoseti etchem
מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Who is like you, O God, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working in wonders? Your children witnessed your sovereignty, the sea splitting before Moses and Miriam. This is our God, they cried. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Mi kamo kavai lima donai. Mi kamo kane tabakodash. No rata hilo, oh sefele. Malachute haka uvanecha, bokeya mipnei Moshe. Ze'eli anu v'yamru, Ze'eli anu v'yamru. Adonai Yihilo Le'olam va'ed. Adonai Yihilo Le'olam Le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha va'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha nehda b'kodesh. Torah tehilot osef eleh. Torah tehilot osef eleh. It is so nice to have voices together again. Yay! It is at this time in the service that we will rise for the Amidah. Adonai sifatita ufia gita hilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hachol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Yamot, Umevii Gula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo V'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol HaTara L'Hoshia. Mechachel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim. Somech noflim v'rofeh cholim, umatir asurim, umechayeh b'emunato l'shenei afar, michamocha bal givurot, umidom elach, melech memid umachayeh, umasmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman chayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh ha'achol. Atah kadosh v'shemcha kadosh,
קדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלם. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
You may be seated. We believe in tomorrow.
We believe that we have the power to make tomorrow different from today.
We believe that poverty need not be permanent and that people need not learn war forever.
We believe in people despite all that we know about them.
We believe that there can still be a time of peace and a time of justice, a time of fellowship and a time of tranquility for all who live on earth, no matter what the headlines say.
We believe that we can have a share in bringing that day closer by the way in which we live in the week to come.
Even though the world may smile and laugh at our dreams, it does not matter.
We still believe.
Join us in our prayer for peace. Shalom Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu Malach Adon Lechol HaShalom. Ki atahu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Shalom Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levaret et Amcha Yisrael b'chol herukosha b'shlomecha. Shalom Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Nice harmonies, ladies. Yeah. At this time in our service, we mention the names of those who are in need of some extra healing and extra prayer. I know there may be some names that would come up on Facebook or in the comments. If that pops up, I will read those. If there are some names on screen, if you would like to unmute yourselves and give us those names first, please.
Raleigh Lay and Arlene Graham.
Bruce Holroyd.
Is there anyone showing up for those who might be on Facebook? Want to mention those names also? We're going to go around the table here. I think we have a few names.
Mindy Ross and Leah Hansman.
I'd also like to add to those prayers of healing all of our military personnel and all of our civilian friends who are in a place that is full of unrest at the moment. Please hold them in your prayers of healing also.
And in the chat popped up Brooke Beckerman and Virgil Jeannie Daly.
Thank you, Lorraine. And if that is it, if you can mute yourselves, and we're going to do the Friedman version of the Misha Barak prayer. Misha Barak Avotenu
Mikor habracha le'emoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Yishefera imoteinu, Mikor habracha la'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Repeat that. And let us say, Amen.
And while we're there and we're thinking about all of the things we left outside of our virtual sanctuary, the week behind us, we begin anew. This is our time for a moment of silent meditation before, and it probably is not in your service, before we do our little, is you in here? I don't think it. Yeah, before we go into a song that is not in your service, but you know very well. No capo. I'm just gonna do a little bit.
Adonai, Suri, Bego, Ali. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable unto you, God, my rock and my redeemer. Let's try it. Yehiyule ratzoni revi vehegyon levi lefanecha Adonai Suri Bego Ali. Everyone. God, my rock and my redeemer.
Well, there's always a little something in the Torah that makes sense in the particular week of what we are studying. This time, I'm going to turn, are you saying turn it up? You can't hear me? Is that what
Yeah, your voice kind of went down a lot.
Oh, it did? Is it doing one of those weird things it did before, Gail? Can you hear me now? Sometimes we have to switch the sound on it. Hold on just a moment. Here, hold this. Yeah, sometimes it'll do that if you don't switch it to the laptop sound. Give us one moment because I want us to hear. Annette is coming up next here. I think it's on the microphone. Is that right? Same as system. Let's see if that helps it. I think I just did the noise canceling. Tell me if you can hear me now. Did that make a difference? It didn't, or it did? I don't know if you're saying thumb up, turn it up, still needs to go. Okay, hold on, Gail.
Or just talk like you are right now. That last bit was fine.
It is better. All right, let me check one more thing because I don't know if I did the same as system. Let me see if we did that. That happened to us once before, but this is a new laptop for tonight. Okay, did that improve it? Are we
Yes.
better? Especially we're sitting back here? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right. Here you go.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, good. Oh, okay, let's sit here. So forgive me if I mess up. I spilled our grape juice all over this just before the service. I didn't have time to reprint it.
It wasn't grape juice.
It was my fault.
grape juice.
It was
my
grape juice. It was her grape juice, and I did it. It was totally my fault. All right. So I really liked this parsha because if you know the Torah, Moses reiterates to the people all of the main commandments in Deuteronomy after the Torah's all over, and he's looking at Israel, and he knows that he's not going to go into it because he actually has already read the Torah, so he knows what's going to happen. So he knows that he's going to die before the people of Israel enter Israel. And so he goes over a lot of really important commandments. So he says, if you follow God's laws, you will be blessed by more than all the peoples of the earth. However, if you worship false idols and ignore the other commandments, you will be cursed and perish. And the rabbis believed that the reason the first and second temples were destroyed was because people had turned to idolatry and were worshiping false idols. So that's actually a very, very important commandment. In addition to that, all of the not all, but I think pretty much all of the commandments in the Torah on kashrut, he now reiterates. And they're actually very few. And what happened is that the rabbis interpreted these laws so that you wouldn't ever eat something that's not kosher. So for instance, the thing that the Torah says that makes you not mix milk with meat is, he says, do not boil a calf in its mother's milk. And when you listen to it that way, it sounds kind of disgusting, right? Why would you boil something with the very thing that was made to nourish it? And it sounds kind of gross. So that's the commandment. But from that, the rabbis have said for Orthodox people, whoever follows the laws of kashrut, don't mix milk with meat. And then according to your tradition, you either separate it by 1 hour or 3 hours or even 6 hours, depending on what you follow. And then he also, in this brief little parsha, goes through the kosher animals that an animal must have a split hoof and chew its cud, both, in order to be kosher. And it mentions sheep, goats, and oxen. Interesting, he doesn't mention a cow, but we know cow's kosher. And then he says it might have a club foot, but not chew its cud, therefore it's not kosher, that is the pig. And it mentions pig specifically. Then for birds, it doesn't mention chicken and turkey are kosher, but it says do not eat birds that are impure. So in the Torah, a bird that is impure or a fish that is impure is something that eats something else that's alive. So any one of the birds that eat of the birds, like vultures and ravens, owls, because they eat mice and other things. Bats are mentioned, which is very interesting. I really don't want to eat a bat, but it is actually specifically mentioned, and eagles. And it also mentions the laws of tithing for the Levites, because their total existence is around the house of worship and they don't have any land. So they say the laws were that you had to tithe 1/10 of everything to them, because that was the only way they could eat and make a living, by eating or selling the produce that they bring. It also mentions that when you go to bring a sacrifice, it has to be the most beautiful firstborn of your flock without any blemishes. It can't be blind. It has to be totally perfect. And also mentions the Shalosh Regalim, which are the 3 times of the year that the Jews have to travel to the Beit HaMikdash to give a sacrifice. So even though the Beit HaMikdash has not been built yet, he says, go to the place that God said you should worship, meaning what's going to be the first and second temples, and bring your sacrifice there. 3 times a year, which would be on Shavuot and Sukkot and Pesach, and it talks a little about Passover. So in this one little parsha, he mentions a whole bunch of laws that are the almost the basis of our religion. Don't worship idols, and the sacrifices, which of course we have prayer now instead of sacrifices, and also specifically says, do not do what your neighbors do because they take their children and put them in the fires of God, meaning that child sacrifice, human sacrifice was a thing in those days, and that was definitely abhorrent. We don't kill people. That's what I have.
Thank you, Rabbi Nick.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. One thing about the summer Leilad services is I do study a little bit more Torah, and she helped me. She did all my studying for me this week. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, we turn to our Aleinu prayer. If you would like to rise, those who are able to, and please join us. Aleinu lishabeach ladon hachol, latekedu lavertzeh breshi, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kimishpichot hadama, shelo samkakenu kahem, vegohor aleinu kicho hamonan. V'nafnu chorim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu Yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. As it has been said, Adonai will be sovereign over all the world. On that day, Adonai will be one, and God's name will be one. This week, we honor the anniversary dates of those who have gone before us. Would you want me to do the reading first? And then you can do that. All right. When I die, give what's left of me to children and old men who wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. When you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting go of children that need to be free. Love does not die, people do. So when all that is left of me is love, give me away.
Sarah Berman, Lionel Levin, Teresa Merritt, Herbert Wagschwal, Paul Krockmal, Stanley Levine, Shimon Goldstein, Perry Ross, Dan Wexstein, other two, Marjorie Hafner, Rosalie Wexstein, Alan Beckerman, Stanley Goldberg, Sylvia R. Moss, Edward Neiman.
If you have names you'd like to mention for our prayer, please unmute yourself.
David Krongold.
And Lorraine, if you are connected there with Facebook, if you see any names popping up there, I know there's a slight delay. Are there any other anniversary dates coming into our comments? And we rise together, if we're not already standing as a congregation, to recite the Kaddish prayer.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach shemei Rabbah. Amen. V'yomar yivrach yiruteh v'yomeh motmuteh.
One moment.
Am I doing it wrong?
Yeah.
Just
Yitkarov Yitkara Shmeraba, Bel Nadi Rocker, Tavian Lis Machute, Bechayet Hon Yomethon, Uchayet Chobet Israel, Ba'agala Abizman Kari Viru Amen.
Amen.
Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Leolam Ome Omaya, Yitbarach Vishavach Vishpar Vishamam Vietnase, Vietadar Vietale Vietalal Shmei Kudusha Barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushkuchata v'nechmata, damiranda ma v'imru amen. Yehi shlomo rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'mrama, v'uya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
May the one who causes peace to reign in the heavens, let peace descend on us, on all Israel and all the world, and let us say,
Amen.
Amen. Let us raise our Kiddush cups. As the ladies of the house lead our Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei ha'afen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'rasa banu, b'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinkilanu, zikaron l'maaseh bereshit, ki hu yom tevilah l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki banu bacharta, v'tanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava uvratzon, inchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechadesh Hashabbat. Amen.
Now, this very talented house has made homemade challah. No Ritz crackers for me tonight. Look at this beautiful challah. Show it off. Yay.
Motzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Motzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Yum. Save me a piece so I can sing. Don't give it to my husband. He'll eat it all. All right. Before we do our closing song, do we have any announcements to share with the group, to share with our virtual congregation? Good news? Any more babies being born? Anyone else getting married? Any birthdays? Oh, Jesse's grandfather. Hold on one moment. Jesse's
No,
grandfather.
that's it. But we do thank the Gilbert family and clan, the whole group of there, plus Mary and anyone else who was participating. It's a lovely group effort. And as Mary said, it's wonderful to hear voices together, which we haven't heard much of over the summer. So I believe next week is a rabbinic-led service because I believe it's about bat mitzvah. I believe is what's going on.
Ava Bressler.
Yep.
Yeah. So
That's correct.
this concludes the summer series, but that doesn't mean there won't be more lay services to come.
All right. And in the meantime, while you're thanking everybody, I want to thank Mark Gilbert. I kind of threw a bunch of songs at him and he has just come in like a trooper, the professional that he is. Thank you.
Yay.
So nice to have another guitarist to work with.
It's
Absolutely.
been a pleasure playing with you.
Well, I pay him well.
Wait, what?
All right, so, all right, do we have any more announcements before we move forward to our closing song? All right, if you could please unmute yourselves. This is one of our favorites, and Annette and I were looking at from the Devor Torah to newspaper headlines, and she and I agreed, and so did Mark, that this was the song to close our service with. And you'll recognize it. Last night I had the strangest dream I never dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed I saw a mighty room filled with women and men. And the paper they were signing said they'd never fight again. Everybody, oh, say shalom, Imroma. Ooh-ya, say shalom. Ooh-ya, say shalom. Aleinu, Be'avo Yisrael. Softer. And when the papers all were signed, a million copies made. Give me some oohs. They all joined hands and bowed their heads, and grateful prayers were prayed. More oohs. And the people in the streets below were dancing round and round, with guns and swords and uniforms all scattered on the ground. Oh, say shalom, Imroma. Ooh-ya, say shalom. Ooh-ya, say shalom. Aleinu, Be'avo Yisrael. One more time, like you mean it. Oh, say shalom, Imroma. Ooh-ya, say shalom. Ooh-ya, say shalom. Aleinu, Be'avo Yisrael. Shabbat shalom, y'all.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Mwah.
Bye, everybody.
Need to stay on and